the minister there saying that the government has a limited role to play. Let me now throw open the discussion to all our panelists here to try and understand the government's reaction and the future of Kingfisher as well as Indian aviation. Mr. Jitendra Bhargava, first to you, your first reaction to what the minister is saying and what is it that the government can really do?
I don't think minister sounds convincing at any stage. His statement that the government has not been soft and linking it to no bailout being extended. Then he goes on to state that this is the first time when all employees have gone on strike and this is the only time when the government can take notice of. The reality is that industry analysts have for last 1 year or more been sounding alarm bells for Kingfisher. That Kingfisher is not working properly, something needs to be done. On a personal level, I had myself done an article for Times of India and the title was Titanic Way or Satyam Way. Now, unfortunate part is we have allowed Kingfisher to sink like the Titanic, but salvaging Kingfisher by following the Satyam example was not resorted to. If minister believes he can be a mute spectator to what is happening in the industry, I don't think anyone will buy the argument. Agreed, we have limited kind of options or rules, regulations, but you don't code rules and regulations when you have money of Indian banks at risk, you have jobs of Kingfisher employees at risk, and you have a market scenario which impacts because once Kingfisher capacity is dwindled, you've seen what has happened in the market, fares have gone up, affecting the armed army. Isn't this a function of the civil aviation minister or the ministry?
Okay, Mr. Kapil Kaul, you've actually put out a very interesting report and as Mr. Bhargava was saying, analysts like you have been sounding out alarm bells about the situation that Kingfisher is in. And it's not the first time that we've seen that happen. Of course, it's reached very serious ramifications now. Your report says the successful turnaround of Kingfisher will require $1 billion. My first question to you is, do we see that turnaround happening? And secondly, is the government being a mere mute spectator?
Frankly, first of all, I think $1 billion is what is required, and that may be a conservative estimate. Theoretically, you can turn around. Theoretically, you could restructure and turn around any company. But first is whether the promoters have the motivation to go through this exercise again. For all said and done, they have sunk in a lot of money. Things didn't turn out to be the way they planned it to be. Whether we can discuss, argue whose fault it is and things like that. But it's a commercial failure. We must accept that. The question is, what do we do now? Whatever is being said, that what the ministry's role, let's go put that behind and say that what is the challenges on task. One is the commercial challenge, which is that the airline has been a commercial failure. Any chance of restructuring would only depend upon promoter putting in capital. And our assessment is till he doesn't put in a couple of thousand crores as equity himself or somebody else he brings it, which brings in a couple of thousand crores, the banks are not going to play the game. And foreign airlines would come later, and you can do other.
But how long can he delay the situation? Is the question now, because now we're seeing obviously there's pressure on the government. There's already a partial lockout that's in place. The minister, even though he didn't sound convincing, which is true, has made it clear that yes, unless and until the DGCA is convinced, the airline will not be allowed to fly again. So are we seeing now a situation that for the longest time we will not see Kingfisher flying, and unless and until we see that financial turnaround happening?
Till the time he doesn't put decisive capital, one-time decisive capital, I don't see Kingfisher resuming operations the way it should. My assessment is that even the resumption of operation the way they were earlier flying is unlikely.
Okay.
So that it requires, if you believe, there are two things which you said in our report. We said it's time Kingfisher takes a very cold and rational view of what's happened. If the management believes, the promoters believe that it can't be turned around, you should move on and accept the fact that it is a failure.
And that might be hard for the king of good times to do.
This is where exactly this is a difficulty. If you think that it can be turned around, you must demonstrate by putting in capital. There are two ways about it. But I must admit one more thing, that in India, this issue of DGCA and safety, I think we misunderstand it. The reason of keeping a license current is, apart from having the 5 aircraft and looking at whether maintenance is all right, we forget the question of capitalization. To keep a license current in international standard, you need to have minimum 3 months of cash without any revenues coming.
And
as
that's
long
exactly
as
the point.
the Kingfisher, or for that matter any airline, actually demonstrate that I have a 3 months cash without any revenues coming, or I have significant cash flows coming which will make sure that I invest in the maintenance and safety of the airline, then there is no question of any intervention. So this issue whether DGCA should have intervened or not intervened is because they are only looking at 5 aircraft. They don't look at capitalization.
India's #1 news app just got even better. Download NDTV's new app. Fully optimized for retina display. Full screen view. Faster response time. And Sudoku. NDTV's new iPad app. Download now.